You know, in the massive, invisible cities of data that we all live in, there's a different kind of detective on the case. They're not wearing a trench coat, they don't carry a magnifying glass. Nope, their tools are code, their crime scenes are networks, and they're on the hunt for clues to crimes that haven't even happened yet. Today, we're going to dive deep into the world of ethical hacking, where the good guys have to think like the bad guys to keep us all safe. It's a pretty wild question when you think about it, right? To build the absolute strongest walls, you first have to understand every single way they could be torn down. This isn't about just breaking things for fun, it's about knowing every potential weakness so you can get it fixed before the real criminals find it. It's an absolutely crucial mindset in our digital world.
So let's just frame this whole thing as a detective story. Our hero, the ethical hacker, isn't sifting through clues of a crime that's already happened. No, they've been hired to find the clues to a crime that could happen, to find the weak spots in a company's digital fortress before a real villain gets the chance.
And just look at the scale of this crime scene. I mean, get this. Every single day, humanity creates 2.5 quintillion bytes of data. That's a 25 with 17 zeros after it. It's insane. This huge digital landscape is what our detectives are trying to protect. And with so much of our lives on the line, our money, our privacy, our identities, the pressure is just immense.
Okay, so what really separates our hero from the villain here? Well, it all boils down to one word: permission. Think of it like this. An ethical hacker is like a security consultant you hired to test the locks on your doors. A malicious attacker? That's the burglar who just breaks in. One has a contract and a strict set of rules, the other one has criminal intent. They might even use the exact same skills, but their motives? Polar opposites.
And this is the heart of it. This is their whole purpose. It's a constant, non-stop race against an invisible enemy. The ethical hacker's entire job is to think of every sneaky, clever, malicious tactic an attacker might use, and then beat them to it. Find the hole and get it sealed up first.
But this isn't the Wild West, you know? This kind of detective work is highly structured. It's not just some random poking around at a system. It's a really disciplined process that follows a strict set of rules, basically an official playbook for how the game is played.
Right, because you can't just start breaking things, even when you have permission. Professional security testing is guided by these established frameworks. For example, here in the US, you've got organizations like NIST, that's the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and they provide the official guidelines, the rule book, for how to conduct a really thorough and professional investigation.
And here's what that process looks like. First up is planning. This is where everyone agrees on the rules of engagement, what they're allowed to test, and what's totally off limits. Then you've got discovery, which is basically reconnaissance, scanning the digital environment for clues. Next is the ATT phase. But don't worry, it's a controlled surgical test of the weak spots they've found. And finally, and this is maybe the most critical part, is reporting, where every single finding gets documented. It's all incredibly professional.
So, now that we have the rules, let's look at the actual investigation. This is the real boots-on-the-ground part of the job, that meticulous process of searching for every possible clue, every potential weakness in the system's defenses.
So, if NIST provides the high-level rulebook, think of the OWASP Web Security Testing Guide as the detective's detailed field manual. OWASP, it stands for the Open Web Application Security Project, gives you a playbook of specific techniques and strategies for finding all the common vulnerabilities. This is the real how-to guide for our digital detective.
And when they follow that playbook, the investigation unfolds in phases. It all starts with information gathering. They want to learn everything they can that's publicly available about the target. Then they'll move on to configuration testing, looking for simple mistakes in how servers are set up. From there, they'll probe identity testing and session testing, which is all about analyzing how the system knows who you are and keeps you logged in securely. It's this really systematic hunt through every potential weak point.
And after all of that methodical searching, combing through lines and lines of code and network traffic, comes the moment every detective lives for: the breakthrough, that discovery of a critical flaw that just cracks the case wide open.
And then, there it is, a clue. And you know, often it's something surprisingly common, a known vulnerability. This is a flaw in a piece of software that the maker has already found and even put out a patch for. The detective finds out the system is using this old, vulnerable version. It's like finding a window that the manufacturer warned was faulty, but it just never got fixed. So, once you find a vulnerability, that unlocked window, you need a way to actually open it, to prove it's a problem. Well, that's what an exploit is.
It's a piece of code or a sequence of commands written specifically to take advantage of that one single flaw. If the vulnerability is the lock, the exploit is the specially crafted key.
Now, using this key requires a ton of care. This is where a really powerful tool called the Metasploit framework comes in. It's like a Swiss Army knife for ethical hackers, packed with a library of pre-built exploits for thousands of known vulnerabilities. The detective will carefully select the right one, attach a totally harmless payload, like code that just proves they got access by opening a calculator app, and then they launch it to gently turn the key and prove the lock can be opened.
So, finding the vulnerability and proving it can be exploited, that's the climax for sure, but it is not the end of the story. Actually, the most important part of the entire job comes next, closing the case. Because the mission was never just to get in. The true value, the whole point of an ethical hacker's work, is the final report. It's a detailed blueprint that shows the client exactly where their weaknesses are, and, more importantly, how to fix them.
A professional report will always include an executive summary for the bosses, deep technical details for the engineers who have to do the fixing, a risk rating to help prioritize what to fix first, and clear, actionable remediation steps. This is what turns a security test from just a break-in into a powerful tool for making the services we all use safer.
And honestly, this quote just says it all. The whole spirit of ethical hacking isn't destructive, it's constructive. It's about working together to make our digital world safer for everybody. It's about building things up, not tearing them down.
So the next time you log into your bank or use an app or just browse a website, maybe take a second to think about the invisible work of these digital detectives. They're the ones out there thinking like the enemy, all to keep our collective digital lives safe. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What vulnerabilities were found and fixed for you just yesterday?